The automatic doors slid open, and the lobby of the Hargrove Medical Center filled with the sound of dress shoes on marble. 32 of them, maybe more, men and women in suits, moving in a formation that parted the crowd the way a ship parts water. At the center of it all walked Dr. Emmanuel Hargrove III, CEO of Hargrove Health Systems, a man whose name was on the building, on the pediatric wing, on the bronze plaque near the fountain that nobody ever stopped to read. He was looking for someone, and the woman he was looking for was sitting on a concrete bench outside, in the August heat, with a plastic bag from the hospital gift shop balanced on her knees and a paper cup of water that a parking attendant had brought her 20 minutes ago because nobody else had thought to. Her name was Adaora. She had come in at 7 that morning, not as a patient. Adaora worked the early shift at the laundry facility 3 blocks over, the industrial place that handled linens for 4 hospitals in the county, including Hargrove. She was 29 years old. She had grown up in Accra, moved to Atlanta at 16 with her mother and 2 younger brothers, put herself through community college while working nights, and was now, 6 years later, 3 classes away from her nursing degree at Georgia State. 3 classes. That was all. She wore her work clothes because she had come straight from her shift. Navy blue pants, a gray pullover with a small bleach stain near the left cuff that she'd tried to scrub out and couldn't. Her hair was wrapped in a headscarf she'd tied that morning in the dark so she wouldn't wake her youngest brother, who was sleeping on the couch because he'd given her his bedroom after she started studying late into the night. She was not dressed like someone who belonged in the Hargrove lobby. She knew that. She had always known that. But she had a reason for being there, a reason that mattered more than what she was wearing, and so she pushed through the glass doors at 7:14 a.m. and walked up to the information desk with her chin up. "Excuse me," she said. "I'm looking for the volunteer coordinator's office. I have a 9 o'clock appointment." The woman at the desk, her badge said receptionist. Her eyes said she had already made a decision. Glanced up once, looked Adaora over from headscarf to sneakers, and looked back down. "Walk-ins need to use the south entrance," she said. "I'm not a walk-in. I have an appointment." "What kind of appointment?" "With the volunteer coordinator. Adaora Mensah. 9 o'clock. The receptionist typed something slowly, then stopped, then typed again. "I don't see anything. It was scheduled 2 weeks ago. I called and confirmed on Monday. Well, I don't see it in the system." Adaora took a breath. She had learned, over 29 years, when to push and when to wait. She waited. "Could you call upstairs and check?" The receptionist looked at her again. "Ma'am, the volunteer coordinator doesn't come in until 9. It's 7:15. "I know. I came early because I just got off my shift and I didn't want to be late. I can wait. The waiting area is for patients and their families." Adaora looked around the lobby. There were chairs everywhere. A coffee station. A small play area for children with foam blocks, and a little wooden giraffe painted in bright colors. People were sitting in those chairs, doing nothing in particular, reading phones, staring at the ceiling, existing without any apparent medical urgency. "There are a lot of chairs," Adaora said. "Those are for patients and their families," the receptionist said again. "You can wait outside or come back closer to..." Outside. In August. In Atlanta. Adaora looked at the woman for a moment. She thought about saying something. She thought about several things she could say. The way you think about doors in a room where all of them lead somewhere complicated. "Okay," she said finally, and she turned and walked back out through the glass doors. The heat hit her like a wall. It was already 83 degrees. By 9, it would be 91. She sat down on the concrete bench near the entrance, set her plastic bag on her knees. She'd stopped at the gift shop. On her way in, and bought a small stuffed elephant for her nephew, who was turning 4 on Saturday, because the gift shop was the only place she'd passed that wasn't asking her to justify herself. And she took out her phone. She did not cry. She had stopped crying about things like this, sometime around her 23rd year, after the 3rd time a store manager had followed her through a clothing store, and the 2nd time a security guard had asked to see some receipts outside a grocery store. Not because she'd stopped feeling it, but because crying took energy she needed for other things. She called her mother, not for advice, not to report what had happened, just because her mother's voice was the only thing right now that would feel like a chair in an air-conditioned lobby. Adaora. Her mother's voice was warm and a little rough, the way it always was in the morning. "Why are you calling so early? I just wanted to hear your voice, Mama." A pause. Her mother knew her. "What happened?" "Nothing. I'm fine. I have an appointment at 9. Adaora." I was asked to wait outside. Another pause. Longer. Her mother did not say anything terrible or dramatic. She said, "Did you eat this morning?" "Yes. Drink some water." "I have water." "Then sit. Your appointment is at 9. You will go in at 9. You will get what you came for. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Mama. You are not what that place thinks you are. You know what you are." Adaora closed her eyes for a second. "I know. Call me when you're done." She hung up. She sat. Inside the lobby, a man named Jonah watched the whole thing from behind the parking validation desk near the West Corridor. He was 22, a pre-med student, working a part-time job to help with tuition, and he had seen the exchange between Adaora and the receptionist, the way you see something from a distance but understand it completely. He went to the break room. He filled a paper cup with water from the cooler. He walked outside and held it out to her. "It's not much," he said. Adaora looked up. He was young. He looked embarrassed, which she respected. "Thank you," she said. "It's hot out here. It is." He stood for a second like he wanted to say something else, then nodded and went back inside. That was the whole conversation. But she thought about it later. She thought about how much it mattered, that one paper cup, that one person who saw her and did the smallest possible thing. The receptionist's name was Brenda Calloway. She had worked at Hargrove Medical Center for 11 years. She knew the lobby the way she knew her own kitchen, what belonged and what didn't. She had, over those 11 years, developed a system of classification that she would not have called a system and would not have described as what it was. She called it professionalism. She called it maintaining standards. She did not think of herself as unkind. She had volunteered at her church's food drive twice. She had a rescue cat named Pepper. She held doors open for people with strollers. But there was a woman in a gray pullover and a headscarf sitting outside on a bench in 90-degree heat because Brenda Calloway had looked at her and made a decision in the time it takes to blink, and Brenda had gone back to her work and not thought about it again. Not yet. At 8:50, a convoy of black vehicles pulled into the circular drive of Hargrove Medical Center. They came quietly, the way powerful things sometimes do. No sirens, no announcement, just the presence of them, one after another, sliding into the curved driveway with the ease of something that had been expected everywhere it went. The doorman stepped back. The valet who'd been leaning against the stand straightened up without being told. The doors opened. 32 people, maybe more. Some of them were staff, assistants, communications directors, the kind of people who carry folders and speak quietly into earpieces. Some of them were board members. Some of them were physicians who had cleared their morning schedules for this. And walking at the center of all of it, moving like a man who had never once needed to announce himself, was Dr. Emmanuel Hargrove III. He was 64 years old. He wore a dark suit. He had a face that looked like it had been through things and come out the other side knowing something. He did not look like a man who had time for small grievances. He had, in fact, no time for small grievances. But one of his associates, a woman named Dr. Patricia Cole, Chief of Medical Education, had texted him 12 minutes ago. The text said, "Someone is sitting outside on a bench. She has an appointment with volunteer coordination. She was told to wait outside. You need to know before you go in." Emmanuel Hargrove had read that text once. Then, he'd told his driver to slow down. He walked through the lobby doors. He crossed the marble floor. He passed Brenda Calloway's desk without stopping, though he was aware of her awareness of him. The way people became suddenly very busy with their keyboards when he walked by. He pushed through the glass doors and stepped outside. Adaora looked up. She did not know who he was. She saw a tall man in a dark suit surrounded by people who waited when he stopped, and she assumed he was looking for a patient or a car or a colleague, and she looked back down at her phone. Then he walked over to her bench and crouched down in front of her. Not stood, crouched. One knee, the way you get low to talk to a child or to someone who needs you to meet them where they are. "Adaora Mensah," he said. She looked up slowly. "Yes, I'm Emmanuel Hargrove. This is my hospital." He said it simply, without theater. "I owe you an apology." She stared at him. "You had an appointment," he said. "You were asked to wait outside in this heat instead of in the lobby where you belonged. That is not acceptable in my building, and I am sorry it happened." Adaora was quiet for a moment. Around them, 30-some people stood in a loose half-circle, some of them looking at the ground. "How do you know about that?" she said. "Someone told me." He glanced back briefly. Jonah, near the door, was suddenly very interested in a bird on a lamppost. "The right person always tells you, if you've built a place where people feel safe telling you." Adaora looked at him. "I have a 9 o'clock appointment with your volunteer coordinator," she said. "I just wanted to wait somewhere cool. You should have been able to." He stood. "Would you come inside? I'll walk you up myself." She stood slowly. She picked up her plastic bag with the stuffed elephant. She straightened her headscarf. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I can find the office." "I know you can," he said. "But I'd like to." She thought about saying no. She was a person who had learned to manage her own way through rooms that weren't built for her, and she did not need an escort, and she was aware that 30 people were watching her decide. "Okay," she said. They walked in through the glass doors together. Brenda Calloway looked up, then she looked again. "Doctor." Hargrove walked past her desk with the woman in the gray pullover and the headscarf, and he was talking to her the way he talked to the board. Not down, not around, but straight to her, like she was the most important conversation happening in the building. Which, at that moment, she was. Brenda did not know exactly what she was feeling. She would spend the next several days trying to identify it. It was not shame, she told herself. It was something adjacent to shame that she was not ready to name yet. She watched them step into the elevator. She watched the doors close. She looked back at her desk, at her keyboard, at the neat system she had built over 11 years. She stayed very still for a long time. In the elevator, Emmanuel Hargrove pressed the button for the 4th floor and said nothing for a moment. Then he said, "What kind of nursing?" Adaora blinked. "Sorry, you're in nursing school," Patricia told me. "What kind?" "Pediatric," she said. "I've wanted to work with kids since I was..." She stopped. "Since I was pretty young." He nodded. "We have a good pediatric unit. Dr. Cole runs the residency program. I'd like her to talk to you today, if you're open to it. Not just about volunteering." Adaora looked at him carefully. "Why?" "Because the people who wait on hot concrete benches for a 9 a.m. appointment, instead of going home when someone tells them to wait outside. Those are usually the people I want in my hospital." She was quiet. "You don't have to decide anything today," he said. "Just talk to her." "I have 3 classes left," she said. "I'm graduating in December." "I know." He almost smiled. "Patricia mentioned that too." The elevator opened on the 4th floor. The meeting with the volunteer coordinator lasted 40 minutes. The conversation with Dr. Patricia Cole lasted 2 hours. By the time Adaora walked out of the building at noon, she had a volunteer placement in the pediatric unit starting the following Monday. A formal invitation to apply for the hospital's nursing residency program, and a business card with Patricia Cole's direct number written on the back in pen. She also had a sunburn on her left arm from sitting on that bench. She stood outside for a minute, different now, different bench, different air, and called her mother. "Mama Adaora." "How did it go?" She looked up at the building, at the name on the front, at the glass doors that had opened for her, this time without anyone deciding whether she deserved it. "It went," she said. Her mother waited. She was good at waiting. "They want me to apply for the residency," Adaora said. The sound her mother made. It wasn't words. It was the sound of a woman who had crossed an ocean so her daughter could stand on this sidewalk and say this sentence. It was the sound of every early morning and every late night and every moment of holding her chin up in a room that wasn't sure about her. "Mama, don't cry." "I'm not crying. You're crying." "I'm not. I just have something in my eye." Both eyes. Adaora laughed, the first real laugh of the morning. It surprised her, the way real laughs sometimes do. Brenda Calloway was called into the office of the hospital's director of operations that afternoon. She had expected this. She had been expecting it since the elevator doors closed. The director, a measured man named Walter Osey, who had worked in hospital administration for 26 years, did not shout. He did not threaten. He sat across from Brenda and said, "Tell me what happened this morning." Brenda told him. He listened without interrupting. When she was done, he said, she had a confirmed appointment. She identified herself. She asked if you could call upstairs. "Yes." "And you asked her to wait outside." Yes, Brenda." He leaned forward slightly. "I've worked with you for 8 years. You know the policy. The lobby is available to all visitors during business hours. You know that." She did know that. "Why didn't you call upstairs to confirm her appointment?" She did not have a good answer for this. She had several answers, the way you have several explanations for something when the real explanation is the one you're not saying. Walter Osey let the silence sit. He was patient. "I'm going to be honest with you," he said finally. "Dr. Hargrove could have handled this morning very differently. He chose not to. He chose to address it directly and move forward. I think you should understand what that choice says and what it asks of you in return." Brenda looked at the table. "You're not being terminated," he said. "That is not the decision that was made. But you're going to complete a required training. Inclusive environment, patient and visitor dignity, and you're going to do it in the next 30 days. And then we're going to have a conversation about what changes in how you do your job." She nodded. "I need you to understand why," he said. "Not just that it's required, but why." She looked up. Her eyes were dry. She was the kind of person who did not cry in professional settings. "Because she was a person," Brenda said, quietly. Like she was reading something she'd written a long time ago but was only just finding. "Yes," Walter said, "because she was a person." Jonah found out what happened through the hospital's internal communication email, the kind of general message that gets sent when policies are being reviewed, and nobody says exactly why. He put 2 and 2 together fast. He thought about going to find Adaora and telling her that he'd sent the text to Dr. Cole. He thought about it for 2 days. Then he decided not to, because it hadn't been about him. He'd done the right thing because it was right. That was enough. He did, though, Start carrying an extra paper cup to his desk every morning, just in case. The following Monday, Adaora walked into the pediatric unit of Hargrove Medical Center for her first volunteer shift. She was wearing her own clothes, not her laundry uniform, not her school clothes, but a yellow blouse her mother had bought her 2 Christmases ago, and she'd never had the right occasion to wear. She had decided that morning, standing in front of her closet, that this was the occasion. A little boy in room 4B saw her walk in and said, without preamble, "I like your shirt," she said. "I like yours too." His was covered in dinosaurs. "Do you work here?" "I'm going to." He considered this. "Are you a doctor?" "Not yet," she said. "I'm going to be a nurse." "Nurses are better anyway," he said. "They come more." She laughed, that surprised by Lauter feeling again. "That's true," she said. "We do. There is something that people sometimes say, when a story like this ends well, that makes me a little tired. They say, you never know who you're talking to, and they mean it as a warning. Watch out, be careful. The person you dismiss might be important. But I want to say something different. I want to say, it shouldn't have mattered who Adaora was. It shouldn't have mattered that she had a confirmed appointment, or that she was in nursing school, or that she ended up in a conversation with the chief of medical education. It shouldn't have taken a convoy in the driveway and a CEO on one knee in a parking lot to make someone decide she deserved to sit in a chair. She deserved the chair because it was hot outside, because she was a person, because that is enough. The faded gray pullover, and the headscarf and the bleach stain near the left cuff, those were enough. Those were always enough. And if you are watching this right now, wherever you are in the world, whether you are the Adaora in this story, or the Jonah, or something in between, I want you to know, you are enough. Before the convoy, before the credentials, before anyone decides to crouch down and look you in the eye, you already were. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And drop your flag in the comments. Where are you watching from? Because the family watching this story is spread across this whole world, and I want to know where you are. We'll see you in the next one.